Hello friend, John Dalton here, Further Emergence podcast, where we go into consciousness, the mystery and love. And in this episode, we are going into Are Animals Conscious? Being in tune with the movement of life, deep communication, the power of crying, appreciating nature, the practice of peace, remembering that you are the ocean, seeing what can't be seen, getting your priorities in order, the illusion of wealth, imparting compassion to children, and embracing paradox. I had a question come in on the Further Emergence Discord. Does my cat inhabit the mystery at the same time that he lives in our house and lays on my bed? Well, yeah, your cat is in the mystery just the same as you're in the mystery. They're not any different because we're in the mystery and we're in existence at the same time. We go into this a lot in the Space for the Mystery training. Go and look on the website, furtheremergence.com, if you want to know more about that, or if you want to join us in it. But we go into meditation and we go deep and we go down into it, and then we feel like we've gone somewhere, but really we haven't. All we've done is we've shifted our perspective so that we're now conscious of the mystery, but we haven't gone anywhere really. We have to use language like going into the mystery as if it's a traveling kind of thing, but we're not really traveling anywhere. It's there all the time, because ultimately where you get to is you can be very conscious of being in the mystery and in existence at the same time. You can be having a chat with the postman and still be in the mystery. So everything is simultaneously in the mystery and here at the same time. You, your cat, your dog, everything. In response to the question I post on the Further Emergence Instagram feed, what's the biggest challenge you're facing at the moment in your spiritual life? This person says, after years of being silent, I find my opinion flying out of me. And I really don't like how it makes me feel or how it sounds. So I'd appreciate some tips on how to just watch the circus and circumvent the urge to speak rather than weighing in. The main thing that stands out to me here is that you don't feel good afterwards. Now, if that's because you're feeling like you're forceful, or you're trying to tell people something, or you're trying to, raise their consciousness, you can't do that kind of stuff. It doesn't work like that. But if you're disturbed because, it's like a little bit of a quake going off inside you and you feel a bit shaky, that's a different thing. That's into the kind of Maya Angelou territory of, speak your truth even though your voice might tremble. So it's kind of seeing what the difference is. But if you feel like you're just being like opinionated, then wait for the question. Because often people will talk as if they're asking you a question, when really they're not. They're just giving you a report. And the thing is, if you can tell the difference between what a question is and what a report is, then you can wait for the question. And there's a lot of power in waiting for the question. Because when the question comes, it sort of opens up and there's a chance for a communication. But if that's not happening, then you responding to what feels like a question, but it's actually a report, and you start to do your best to help them, it won't go well. It will come back on you. There'll be resistance. You'll get disturbed. They'll get disturbed. So the more you can wait for the question, the better. And the more silent you can be and still, and have this feeling of that you're just going along with the person as they're going on their difficult journey, and you're just being a friendly companion with them. You're not trying to fix them, you're not trying to carry them, you're not trying to do anything like that. You're just going along with them. Then that generally goes a lot better. So the main benefit is through being still, you generate a lot more power when you are required to speak. I had a question come in on the Further Emergence Discord. When you connect to someone behind the scenes, in inverted commas, would it be the same as the mystery, in inverted commas? If there's nothing to speak of in the mystery, do you still communicate in other ways, or there isn't any kind of language/communication in the mystery? So yeah, behind the scenes in the mystery, pretty much the same as certainly my experience of it. And words in the mystery, no, it doesn't come like that to me anyway. It's like packages. It often feels like a delivery of information, which is very different from information from the psychic world, which is a different thing and generally to be avoided. So I generally turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, which is turning off my mind, turning off thinking. Then if there's anything kind of whispering in my ear, brilliantly, beautifully, whatever, that's generally just the psychic world. Any kind of communication, I just turn it off because I want to just be in the mystery. So when I do that, then when communication happens, it's a solid little package of communication. No dots are joined to get there. I suddenly just know something. And my mind is like, what happened? How did that happen? Where'd that come from? So as my mind kind of makes sense of the information, then words are wrapped around it. But that's when my eyes are open and I'm not consciously in the mystery, in meditation. So no words, no communication. Communication does happen, but not in the normal kind of way. That's my experience anyway. I had a realization the other day. I realized that one of the things that I really enjoy is answering questions. So feel free to write to me because I'm curious to know what I'm going to say as well, and how I'm going to respond. So yeah, I love answering questions. So write to me at john@furtheremergence.com, or you can send me something through on Instagram, or I'm on TikTok as well. You can send it through there, or Facebook. But yeah, I love answering questions, so do send them through. Have you signed up for my friendly notes? I send out friendly notes every Sunday. They're kind of a roundup of what I've been doing, a bit of my writing, a bit of this, bit of that. They're very nice. I enjoy them. I enjoy doing them. And the feedback I get is that people enjoy getting them. So you can find a link for that on the website as well, furtheremergence.com. As I mentioned, Space for the Mystery, very nice. There's lots of different trainings on the website, but the Space for the Mystery is a nice one to start on because it's a chance to meditate together. Even if you've never meditated before, you can join in on this. And if you've been meditating for a long time, you can do it as well. And I've had people who meditate for a long time and they have told me that it's very unusual. So you can come along and find out for yourself. You'll find out how to do that on the website. Now, let's have a look at the memes on the Further Emergence Instagram feed. First one is a picture of 4 people. It's the same person, but in the first one, they're full to the top with blue, blueness. And then in the next picture, they're crying and the blue is getting less. And the next one, they're crying some more and the blue is getting less, and they're getting a slight little smile on their face. And then the last one, they haven't got any blue inside them at all and they've got a full smile. And it says, crying is not a weakness, it is a beautiful release that sets you free. And that's beautiful, isn't it? Because we are so conditioned not to cry. And it's so important to cry appropriately. Meaning, number one, not to know that it's not very good to stifle it down. It's like trying to hold a sneeze down. If you've never felt a sneeze coming on and you've been out in public, or you've been somewhere where it's just not the place to sneeze and you've tried to stifle it, it's like you blow up like a cartoon character on the inside. Crying is a little bit like that. You can sort of feel yourself, oh, I'm gonna cry, I don't wanna cry. And that's okay if you're out and it just doesn't suit you, because there's you and then there's other people. I mean, there are times when you just can't contain yourself and you just find yourself weeping over the frozen peas in the supermarket or somewhere like that. That's fine. People will just give you a wide berth. I mean, some people will ask you, are you okay? But most people will be like, whoop, they'll just get out of the way. They'll just try and turn away because they just don't want to be reminded of it, because they're all just about keeping it together as well. I'm not so much talking about that. I'm talking about when you get home and you're watching something on TV or a wave of tears come. Let it come fully, because the more you can get the tears out, the more you can let them come, you are, like this meme is, emptying yourself out. You're emptying yourself out of all these deep tears, because tears become corrosive if you keep them inside. You don't want to keep the tears inside. Be as appropriate as you can. Don't freak other people out, or don't distress other people if you can avoid it. But once you get a chance, let them out, you know? And that, even if that means going up to your bedroom, burying your face in a pillow and just wailing, you know? If you don't have to use a pillow, that's brilliant. But Give yourself permission to cry, to get those tears out as much as you can, as much as they need to. Because, as I say, tears become corrosive on the inside if you don't let them out. So let them out. The next one I'd never heard of before, and I thought it was lovely. And it's such a strange context. It's a picture of a forest. But the quote is, "I think having land and not ruining it is the most beautiful art that anybody could ever want." And that's a quote from Andy Warhol, which is really strange because Andy Warhol never really struck me as the sort of person who was even conscious of nature, let alone had an appreciation of how it's possible to ruin nature. And it's really easy to ruin nature. As I've mentioned before, I was born in the suburbs. There was a big, long back garden and everything else was concrete. And apart from growing vegetables, which kind of stopped after my father died, it became this kind of wasteland / chore area. I had to cut the grass, which I didn't want to do. But in terms of the beauty of nature and what nature does and what actually goes on in nature, I mean, my back garden now is quite different, as you can see if you're watching this on YouTube. But I had no clue. And no one around me had a clue either. And I kind of just thought in terms of gardens. Grass is something you cut. And trees just, everything has to be dominated. You can't let things go wild, Now I've read a lot about it. I understand it a lot better. And I can kind of see how if you just leave it alone, it knows what it's doing. And it goes through a kind of chaotic phase and then it settles down. And pretty much everything in nature, certainly in Ireland and, northern hemisphere, wants to become a forest. If you leave it alone enough, it'll become a forest. So for Andy Warhol to know that, of you just don't ruin it, don't ruin the land by imposing yourself on it, that's the most beautiful art. I think that's amazing that Andy Warhol knew that. And it's a great quote. Next one is a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, and it says, "If we want peace, we have to be peace. Peace is a practice, not a hope." That's pretty good, isn't it? That sort of brings it home, doesn't it? That's a bit uncomfortable. It's a bit, oh, what? No, I have to do something here? Can't I just be upset? Can't I be upset about about the lack of peace and war? And can't I be just upset about that? Now, Thich Nhat Hanh is saying, no, you have to be the peace. You have to be the peace on the inside. But what about the victims? What about the people who are... And it's yeah, you can see all that, but the peace starts inside you. And it's oh God. now I have to do it, but we do. He's right. Of course he's right. He's dead right. We have to be the peace. It has to start inside. It's our version of the, back in the days when everybody went to church on Sundays. I'm sure lots of people still do that, but a lot of people don't, that used to. It used to be the thing. It used to be the norm. Now it's not so much. But back in the day, it was you go to church and you're really good and holy for half an hour a week. And then you're a complete bastard for the rest of the week. It's our version of that. If you want peace, you have to have peace in your heart all the time. That's your job. That's your mission, is to be the peace. So screaming at the telly because of some injustice and then screaming at your partner and then kicking the dog or whatever. But then yes, we should have peace. We should have peace in the world. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. You can't do that anymore. Now we have to be the peace. It starts with you. And all your energy has to go into being the peace in the world now. Which sounds well, that's not going to change anything. Try it. Try it. If you do that, if you make that the focus of your life, it will inform you. You will be informed. Like I was saying about the communication from the mystery, you will be informed and it will inform your actions. So yeah, hard homework, Thich Nhat Hanh, but we have to do it. Next one is a great little quote from Leonard Cohen. I'd never heard this before. I liked Leonard Cohen. I used to hate him. Well, hate's a strong word, but I suppose back then I used it. I used to not like his music. It just seemed so depressing. I used to say, oh God, it's just terrible. I don't turn that off, because he'd sort of, be whining on about something. That's what it sounded like to me then. Of course, then I lived a bit. Then I had some heartbreaks and different things. And then I started to get it. I started to get his music a lot more. But this quote is great. It says, if you don't become the ocean, you'll be seasick every day. And this is like, it's almost like a follow-on from Rumi's quote about, we're not a drop in the ocean. We're the whole ocean contained in a drop. And, this is like Leonard Cohen's version of that, but from a more practical perspective, because he's kind of saying, if you don't become the ocean, you're going to be seasick every day, meaning you're going to be bashed around by this thing that you are, which is the mystery. You'll be at odds with it. You'll be at odds with it the whole time, and then you're going to feel ill. It's going to be disturbing for you. It's not going to be great. So his kind of thing, if you're going to be seasick every day, if you don't become the ocean, it's almost like taking it as read, well, the job is to become the ocean. So if you don't become that, it's going to be disturbing for you. So it's beautiful, but it's summed up in it's almost like a little koan or haiku. If you don't become the ocean, you'll be seasick every day. That's beautiful. I have the same birthday as Leonard Cohen, by the way. Leonard Cohen and Van Morrison, and a good friend of mine, James. So James and Leonard are gone, just me and Van left, all on the same birthday, 21st of September. Next one is an illustration from The Little Prince. I'm not sure if it's the quote from The Little Prince, but it's lovely. The Little Prince is a lovely, lovely little story. Sad, but lovely. It's only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Now, there's a lot to that. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Vision is so interesting. It's so interesting, but it's also so distracting because it distracts you from a lot of things that are going on inside you. All the most important things happen inside you, and you can't see them. Love, gratitude, connection, communication, all goes on inside you. You can't see. When you get a sense of something, like when you look at a sunset or something beautiful like that, you kind of think, oh, this is a beautiful, moving experience, but it's all happening inside you. You can't see what's happening inside you. That's why this, what's essential is invisible to the eye, because it's all going on in here. Behind the scenes, in the mystery, that's where all the really significant stuff happens. Where do you go to every night in deep, dreamless sleep? You go somewhere, and then when you come back from that somewhere, you feel good, you feel refreshed, and you're very happy to go there again the next night and continue on going. And if you don't get there, you feel kind of terrible. That's part of all the essential things. And we are currently now, as it looks to me, in a time where we're really being encouraged to get this. We're really being encouraged to see that there's a lot more going on, and it's a lot more significant than we think, behind the scenes. And I'm not talking about conspiracies, I'm talking about inside. When you close your eyes, you pull back from existence a little bit into a deeper part of you. It's in there I'm talking about. Next one says, it's a diagram. It's not a Venn diagram, it's like a graph, circle cut into quarters. And it says, nobody will remember your salary, how busy you were, how many hours you worked, and how many Gucci bags you owned. People will remember how you made them feel, the time you spent with them, if you kept your word, and if they could count on you. And this is like this thing of what's important and 10 things people regret when they're at the end of their life. And it's just a kind of reminder that the things we get caught up in, the things that we get distracted about, like, I have to go to work, and going to work is fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but like it's important, or I can't talk to you now, Timmy, I'm doing this very important email, or I can't have that conversation, darling, I've got to do this expense report, and so on. And we kind of think, oh, it's so important, our work is so important, things are so important, I really want to get this thing, this shiny new thing. And shiny new things are great. There's nothing wrong with them. But if you make them the whole focus of your life, you're not going to remember them, because everything you own, someone else is going to own it after you're gone. That's a really helpful thing to remember. Everything you strive for in your life externally, someone else is going to end up owning it. Your house that you put so much effort into, that paying off the mortgage for the 25 years or 30 years or whatever, all this struggle you went through, someone else is going to end up owning it. Now we kind of like to think, oh, well, it'll be my descendants, it'll stay in the family. Well, that doesn't really happen. It just kind of dissolves back into everything else. So when you think of it in those terms, everything that you own, someone else is going to own it. Then it's kind of like, oh. So everything's just kind of passing through. And that's fine. And it's like, oh, I get to play with this for a little bit, and then I get to pass it on. But the things that do count are inside. The treasures are all on the inside. They're not on the outside. And when you focus on the treasures on the inside, you generally have more time for people, you are more consistent, you're more solid for them, and they will maybe remember that. But in 100 years, no one's going to remember any of that stuff anyway, because we're just here now. Now, this is it. You're having the time of your life right now. I don't mean you're having a great time, but the time of your life is happening right now. You're having the time of your life right now. Next one is a bit preachy, but I think it's kind of good. It says, stop being fooled by the illusion of wealth. Big houses, expensive cars, designers, and a fancy lifestyle is not wealth. It's debt. Wealth is time, freedom, options, and health. And this is brilliant. I remember a guy years ago in Brisbane saying everybody should have a big sign on the top of their car and maybe on top of their house saying how much money they owe on the whatever it is. So if it's on their car, on top of the beautiful, Mercedes or whatever it is, it's got a big sign on top. I owe $20,000 on this car. On top of their house, there's like, I own 400,000 euros on this house. And his idea was that if we did that, if we made that, you had to display how much money you owed on the top of your car, people would start to kind of, instead of looking at the car going, wow, how cool, I wish I had that car, they'd look at the debt on the car and go, yeah, well, it's a nice car, but I don't want that debt. Or nice house, but I wouldn't want to owe that much money. Because the more we can get out of debt, the better. I know it's very difficult, but it requires you to not get sucked into the buy now, pay later thing. That's what the kind of minimalist reaction is to. Part of it is about reducing, but it's also about you just accumulate stuff. It's like you walk along and suddenly you've got things that where'd that come from? Oh yeah, I remember I bought that and I thought I was going to use it, and now I'm not. And particularly as we're coming into a time when people buy gifts, buy secondhand gifts or make that normal. Make gifts. Make that normal. Give people experiences rather than things. We've got plenty of things. We've got all the things we need, really. But yeah, the more we can get out of this illusion of wealth, which is actually just debt repackaged, that will be better for everybody. Next one is very sweet. It's a picture of kids, a little group of kids, and they're all looking very closely at a caterpillar on the ground, and it says, teaching a child not to step on a caterpillar is as important to the caterpillar as it is to the child. Generally, left to their own devices, kids won't be cruel. They will be gentle with animals. Sometimes you have to remind them, but that's more to do with helping them see something outside themselves. When we're kids, it's a bit hard for us we just kind of think we're the center of everything and everything is the same as us. And we have to learn to be gentle, but the inner compassion, it's in there. But we have to demonstrate it as well for everything. And when we demonstrate it for everything, then the kids get that as well. And they go, oh, this is how you move in the world. This is how you relate. This is how you are with things. And that's just as important for the caterpillar, who obviously doesn't want to get stepped on, as it is for the child. Because when they learn that, they learn a very valuable lesson about nature and how it all fits together, and that nothing is worthless, and that all life is as valuable as every other bit of life, and that all life is an expression of some deep or mysterious thing, and it's all to be cherished. And the last one is this lovely poem by Hannah Napier Rosenberg. And the title is Until I Thought of Myself as the Sea. I used to separate good days from bad until I thought of myself as an ocean. I used to split times I felt strong from when I felt weak until I imagined myself as the sea. Calm and rocky, wild and soft, still and powerful and vast and more than any one thing. In the ocean, it's hard to divorce one mood from another or one wave from the next. Now, on my worst days, I think of how good life is too, how I still can greet joy while swimming through grief, how fragile strength feels, how I'm not any one thing in any one moment on any one day. I'm all of it, and all of it is me. It's beautiful, isn't it? Because it's true. We are many things. And in the sort of consciousness, spiritual thing, paradox becomes, you just bump into it all the time, where you can be two or more things at the one time. You can be the fragility of strength, grief and happiness. They can be there both at the same time. You can be in existence and out of existence at the same time. It's part of the unfolding consciousness when you start to see, yes, these two things or more can be there all at the same time, because our mind wants to arrive somewhere. It wants to have a bit of certainty. I want to know things. This is the way things are. That's the way things are. The things are never the way we think, because it's an evolving thing. Nothing is written in stone inside. It's always on a whiteboard, and I'm always ready to wipe it out. And I think you need that kind of flexibility, because consciousness changes and you grow and it gets bigger, and what was right yesterday is not right today. And to be okay with that, and to be okay with the kind of inner ocean that goes on, where all the waves are different, and you can be hard and soft and gentle and falling apart and very together all at the same time. It's almost a requirement to go deeper into consciousness. You need to be able to hold these different things, these different paradoxes. Okay, that's all I've got for you this time. I trust you're well. I trust you're of good cheer. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.